Hi guys, it's Jordan from P&P Campers. I'm just going to be doing a handover video on this AutoTrail Imala. So this is going to be an internal video first. Alright, so we're going to do an inside video first, and then I will do an outside video after that. Alright, just happens we haven't got time to do the whole thing just now, but I will do the other part in just a minute. So, what I will do first is I'll show you through the cab. And then what I'll do is I'll sort of spin around and show you through to the back end of the van, starting with the control panel and moving on to the appliances. So in the cab itself, first of all, the front seats both swivel round. So you've got a little handle on the side here, which when you pull on it, will then allow you to swivel the seat all the way around. Now you will need to move the seat backwards and forwards a little bit to get it to go all the way around, but it really does take seconds, and it's, you know, one of those things we'll get used to. It's like second nature. So this is a really high spec cab. All right, so there's not really many things in here that you haven't got, if you know what I mean, in respect of like optional extras. So on the actual door itself, we've got the electric windows and the electric adjusting mirrors from just there. So with the mirrors, you literally just choose which mirror you want to move like that, and then move it around like a little joystick. So it's really simple. With the you got the cab blinds. So to use these cab blinds, just be really careful because they're quite brittle sometimes. So squeeze these two bits together, and you'll then be able to pull this all the way across. Just be nice and gentle, and that will completely black out this window. So it's the same for the front window here as well. They meet in the middle at the front to sort of join together, and obviously the same with the passenger side. So pull this back, making sure that you go nice and evenly all the way back, and wait till you hear that little click noise, and that'll be it completely locked. To the right of the steering wheel, we've got mode, so that's all to do with stuff on your screen up here, headlight adjustments, and your fog lamp. You've got your washers and wipers are on the right hand stalk here, and your lights and indicators are on the left. Also on the left, we've got your cruise control stalk down here, and so it's cruise control and a limiter, so you can select which one you want to move, and then just use it as you want to. It's really simple to use. Because it's quite a nice modern cab, you've got the steering wheel controls, all to do with the radio. That is a factory fitted radio as well, so this will all work with the that radio there. In the center of the cab, we've got the 6-speed manual gearbox. Lift up and over to the top left hand side for reverse. You've got down here, we've got your traction control assist, downhill assist, and your hazard lights. You can lock and unlock the cab with this button here. And the original heated rear window is obviously gone now because it's been converted into a motorhome, so that button there won't do anything at all. We've then got a USB socket and a 12-volt socket just there. You've also got a auxiliary and USB socket down low as well, with the cup holders. So the reversing camera screen is this one just here, in place of the rear view mirror. So when you select reverse, you'll be able to see through that. And we've got the nice screen up here, which comes down like so. All right, so in the AutoTrails, these are called your entertainment system, and I'll show you a bit more about that in a minute. So I think that's about it really for the cab. There's not much else that I can show you. So layout in this particular van, we have got the front seats here, so side facing seats basically. These will pull together to make a kind of single/double bed. It's a small double or a big single. All right, so you use that however you want to. A lot of people wouldn't use this as a bed here because you have got the overcab bed up there and twin single beds at the back, but it is there. If you want to use that as an option, you can basically just pull these little pieces out here, and they will just meet in the middle and make a nice big bed. So really comfortable. All of the cushions are obviously super high quality, being an AutoTrail. So yeah, as I said, we have got the bed over here as well, so pull this part towards you until it stops, and you'll then be able to use this space up with the additional cushions and things. That's my fault not putting the telly up properly. Let's just do that. There we go. Right, so yeah, so you've got the two side settees up here, overcab bed, swivel front seats, really good sized kitchen. So you've got the proper Dometic fridge just there, loads of worktop space and additional sockets in here if you want to use those. So they are mains powered sockets, okay, so you do need your hookup cable plugged in, which will be on the outside video that you'll get later on. But yeah, so full range cooker as you get here with the electric ring there, and obviously your two single beds here at the back. In between those single beds we have got a massive wardrobe. Inside the wardrobe you've got your factory fitted carpets, and any additional cushions and things like that that you might need for making the beds up are back here. You've got the full-size standalone table and your TV aerial booster up here, so on and off with this little switch just here, okay, and your signal strength from that one. So what I will do is I'll start with the control panel. Now these control panels on this sort of age of AutoTrail, these Sergeant control panels are probably the most simple control panels that there is. So you've got a main power switch just here, which as you can imagine is just a main power switch for everything. You've then got two switches just here, one that says L and one that says V. Now that stands for leisure and vehicle. Just going to open up this door because it is quite hot in here. So you've got leisure and vehicle, okay? So basically, if you want to use your leisure battery to power the back end of the van, you want to have this L battery symbol here lit up. And if you want to use the vehicle battery, you want to have the V one lit up. So if I select V, you can see now all of the lights have come back on, but everything's being powered from the vehicle battery. It's also telling us whichever battery we've got selected, it will tell us the battery voltage just here. For the most part, we want to be on L for leisure, and don't worry, it's perfectly normal for it to be there at about half power. We haven't got anything charging the battery up at the moment. You know, we've got the no hookup plugged in, the engine's not running and all that. So bearing in mind that we've got lights on and things working, that's quite normal. So we want to have leisure selected if you want to use any 12-volt power. You've then got your water pump switch, okay, which by the way will beep at you if the freshwater tank is below a certain amount. So if we click on the freshwater level here, flashing red at us right at the bottom, so that's telling us that the water pump shouldn't really be turned on because it's the water level's too low. So really simply, with the control panel, that is it for the control panel. But the most important thing that you can remember about this is to make sure that you keep an eye on the water level. Now, if you're going to be using the boiler and the water system and all that sort of stuff, you need to make sure that you've got water in the tank. And that is obviously a really simple thing for me to say, and you might think it's a really silly thing for me to say, but if you're going to use the boiler, probably the most important thing to say, if you're planning on using the boiler to get the water hot, and let's just say that you light the boiler up, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, and you're waiting for the water to come through nice and hot. If that boiler is empty and it's not got any water inside of it, you're going to run into some serious issues when it's like turning on a kettle with no water in it, basically. So you need to make sure that the boiler is full up of water, which is what I'll show you how to do now. So first things first, as I just said, make sure that you've got some water in the tank. Now it's showing us we've got empty tank at the moment, so that's not going to work for us right now. So you would need to make sure that you fill the tank up first before you do this next step. Okay? So the first thing to do once you've checked that is turn your water pump switch on. Okay? Once you turn the water pump switch on, you will then hear the pump running. Okay? It's perfectly normal and actually quite a good sign to hear the pump running. Next thing you need to do, and I'm just going to explain this in a little bit more detail quickly. With the water system in a motorhome, so you've got a cold water system and a hot water system. Now basically, the cold water system is unbelievably simple. It runs through the pump, straight from the tank and straight to the tap. Okay, so it literally just comes straight from the tank to the tap, and that's the cold water side. So that's really simple. If for whatever reason you don't get any water coming through the cold side of the tap, there must be a kink in the pipe somewhere or something like that. The difference with the hot water side is that it actually has to run through the boiler first before it ends up getting to the tap. So the water pump sucks the water through from the tank, then through the boiler, and then to the taps. Okay, so because of that, the boiler actually has to be completely full before it will send any water to the taps. So to double check that the boiler is definitely full of water before you start trying to use it, all you have to do is draw the water through on the hot side of the tap. Okay, now as I said, this is not going to work for me right now because I haven't got any water in the tank. But if you've checked that the water's in the tank, you turn your water pump on and then you draw the water through on the hot side of the tap. If the water starts coming through nice and clearly and it's not coughing and sputtering and going all over the place, the boiler's full. Okay, so just making sure that the water's coming through nice and clearly. If it's not full yet, you're basically fine with it. There'll just be loads of air coming out through the tap. You might get a bit of water on the sides and stuff like that. But just wait for it to start coming through nice and clearly. It could take a minute or two. Just leave the tap in the open position on the hot side and just wait for the water to start coming through nice and clearly. As soon as it's doing that, as soon as it's coming through nice and clearly, you can turn the tap off and the pump should turn itself off after a few seconds. Okay, I'm just going to open up this little area down here. Okay, and this will make a bit more sense in a minute. Right, so down here is the actual boiler itself. I'm just trying to have a little look for something. Maybe it's not down here, might be down here. Right, so sorry about that, just ignore what I was doing in there. So under the cooker we have got a little yellow tab. Now this little yellow tab is the boiler drain off point. So if you wanted to drain the water out from inside the boiler to winterize the van, you would lift the little yellow tab upright so it's facing vertical, and every single bit of water out of the boiler will just drain out onto the floor. So the reason I'm showing you that, for obvious reasons, you need to know how to winterize the van, which by the way, on this channel there is another video saying how to winterize your motorhome. But that is your boiler drain off point for this van. Okay, and if you've drained the boiler out of all of its water, then you can imagine that when you go to fill it back up again, the boilers are about 10 litres. All right, so it will take a few minutes to get that boiler completely full up again before it starts coming through the hot side of the tap. So yeah, just bear in mind that if you find that when you put the pump on one day, all the water's just pumping out underneath the van around this area, then it's probably because you've got the boiler drain open. Okay, but I just thought I'd point out to you that that's where all of those bits are. So, as I said, that's the actual boiler down there. Nothing interesting to show you about that really. Good access though, I will say, good access to that. I'll put this down in a minute, I've got two hands free. Right, so staying on the topic of the boiler, we have got the actual boiler controller over here to the left. Now this is a Truma iNet Ready system. Okay, so this is our sort of heating and hot water system, all nice and simply in one place. I'm actually going to shut this door again now because bloody road's a bit noisy. Right, so when I press on this little button here, we get this nice little screen come on, showing us all the different options that we've got. So this is like our menu screen. Okay, now whichever one is flashing is the one that you're hovering over, and all you need to do to press it is just literally press the button in again. Okay, so we've got heating, hot water, energy selector, and fan speed. They are the four options for the heating and hot water. So the first one, when I press on this one, the heating, we've got off, and then we've got 5 all the way through to 30. And that is our temperature selector for the heating. So simple as that. Choose your temperature and press go. Okay, for the time being, I'm going to turn that off because it's very hot today. And that's the last thing I want. Right, so the next one, our hot water. Press on that, we've got off, eco, hot, or boost. They are the options for the hot water. So it all just depends how much of a rush you're in for hot water. Next one over is our energy selector. So we've got gas, mix 1, mix 2, which is a mixture of gas and mains electric, either at 4 or 8 amps. And we've got electric 1 or electric 2, which is either 4 or 8 amps of electric. So that's our hookup, okay? The majority of people would leave it on gas, okay? And the reason I say that, without trying to bore you too much about it, the more you use a gas appliance, so this goes for the fridge, goes for the cooker and all that, the more that you use a gas appliance, the longer it will last, okay? And I'm not talking about using it literally constantly all day, every day. That's a little bit silly, but it's just the same as a car, for example, a petrol or a diesel car. If you sit there and do not drive a car for a very, very long time, things are going to get clogged up. And in this particular case, where you've got the option of electric on most things as well, that's great, and that's really handy, because if you're hooked up on the mains, then you can use anything on the mains. So you've got the mains for the fridge, you've got mains for the cooker, mains for the boiler. But if you use everything on mains all the time, those gas jets and gas, pipes and stuff like that are going to get blocked up, and that's when you'll start to get issues with things. The electric sides of things normally just kind of get on with it and don't really give you any problems, but it's the gas things. If you don't use the gas stuff for a long time, you might find that it won't work again the next time you use it. And I'm talking, year or two down the line. I'm not talking about, a week or something. But if you don't use anything on gas for a year or two, then you might find that it'll get clogged up. So that's the majority. The main bits of the heating system are the heating, hot water, and energy selector. As I said, you've also got this last one over here on the right. Now, if I put the heating on first, press the wrong one there, turn the heating on for a moment, and then go over to this one here, it will then have eco or high for the fan speed, and that's when the heating's on. Okay, if I turn the heating off and go back to the same one here, this little fan symbol, it will now say vent. So when I press vent, it'll give me the option of 1 all the way through to 10. And that will basically allow us to use the fan with no heating at all. So right now, when it's quite a hot day, if I want some cool air pumping around the van, but I don't want the heating to come on, I can use it as a vent. And what it will do, which it already has started doing, is it will just start pumping around cool air. It's not air conditioning or anything like that, but it will pump around a little bit of cool air. Whatever air it can take in from outside, it will blow through to the inside. Okay, so I'm actually going to leave that on for a little bit just to get some air going around here. Right, so that is your heating and hot water. Really simple. And once you've done it a few times, it will feel like second nature. Okay, so I mentioned about the sink already, and about making sure that you draw the water through on the hot side. Okay, so the fridge is probably the next part to show you. So this is your kind of industry standard Dometic fridge. So these are sort of things that you can overcomplicate. You don't need to overcomplicate them, but you can do it. So please just kind of, I don't know, I try and explain them in a really simple way, because they are very, very simple, but sometimes people can get a little bit sort of confused with these buttons. So don't overcomplicate them for yourself, is what I'm trying to say. So when you turn this button on here, just on the side of the fridge there, you'll get a light come on in the fridge, and whatever energy was being used last time will come on, basically. It will try and use that one. Okay, now we've got 3 options. We've got mains electric, which will give us a fault code in a second. Should give us a fault code. There you go. Okay, so that's flashing at us and beeping because we haven't got the electric hookup plugged in. Next one over is gas. Okay, so it will try and light up by itself. You haven't got to do anything with it. It will just try and do it by itself. Now, I don't have the gas on right now, so it won't light up. And after a few seconds, we'll also get another fault code. So we'll just wait for that. So it will try and light up on the gas for a certain amount of time, and then it will stop. Some of them longer than others, obviously. Okay, so after a few seconds now, so it's stopped igniting now, but after a little while, it will notice that the gas isn't on, and it will give you a little fault code. So we've got mains electric, gas, and this one just here, the little battery symbol, will also give us a fault code. Now this is because we don't have the engine on, okay? So, mains electric and gas. These are the only two ways that will get the fridge cold from warm, okay? So you either turn your gas on and use it on gas, or hook the van up to the mains and use it on the mains, okay? The 12 volt option here, it might seem a little bit strange to think about it this way, but this is actually your engine running option. Now it does take power from the battery, that's why it's got a battery symbol, but it will not do anything at all unless the engine is physically turning over and running. Now, the reason for that is that you've got what's called a split charger, and any decent motorhome has got a split charger. What it does is it takes a little bit of power from the engine's alternator and sends it through to the leisure battery and to the fridge. Okay, so what it means is that you can actually keep the fridge cold whilst you're driving. So what you do need to do is, before you go, you need to make sure that your fridge is already cold, either on the gas or on the mains. So get it cold on one of these two first before you go, and it will take a couple of hours, by the way, to get actually properly cold. And then just literally switch over to 12 volt here just for when you're driving. When you get to where you're going, switch back to one of these two here, and that's it. On the right, you've got a temperature selector, so when you press this little button here, you'll be able to adjust the temperature on that one. And then this little light just here, this button here, is your gas lockout fault reset. So if you do get this flashing up when you're on gas, press and hold it for a few seconds and it will just reset the gas system. So you shouldn't really have to do that, but it's there if you do. So you've got a freezer compartment at the top, and the rest of it is just normal fridge. Okay. In the cupboards to the right, loads of storage in all of these ones here. Down on the little bottom left hand side, we've got your gas isolators. So if I just zoom in a little bit, we've got the first isolator is for the boiler, next one is for the cooker, next one is for the fridge. So if you want to isolate the gas from any of those appliances individually, you can do that from there. Please do not turn these off every time you get out of the van. Turning the gas off from inside the gas locker is the best way to isolate the gas from inside the van. So you only do that if you think you've got a specific problem with an individual appliance. And to be honest, they're really there for us when we're doing a HAB check. If we find that there's a gas leak somewhere, we can isolate each appliance to work out what it is that's leaking. So that's the main reason that they have those. But yeah, there we go. So microwave up top just here, that's a mains powered appliance, so that will not work unless your hookup is plugged in. Okay. The cooker, I very rarely spend much time going through these because it's really self-explanatory, but you have got an ignition switch just here and 3 burners at the top. Okay, so your 3 burners at the top obviously have all got their own individual buttons. Okay, but you've also got the electric ring at the back. Now the electric ring is this one here on the left. Okay, and essentially it's as simple as, if you're hooked up on the mains, just choose a number and it will start getting hot. So it really is as simple as that. Grill and oven have also got the exact same ignition switch to light those up. Okay, and the only thing that I would say is that make sure that you leave this stuff here to cool down before you put the glass lid back down. I have seen it so many times when they just shatter because they're so hot underneath and cold on top. Glass doesn't like that very much, so it will just break. So just bear that in mind, really. Just allow it to cool down before you put the lid down. A little button just there to push that back down. So the last thing to show you is going to be the bathroom, I think. So This particular van, you've got a really nice layout in here for the bathroom, so you've got a proper separate shower unit so that you don't get absolutely everything soaked every time you use the shower. You should have a light switch, oh yeah, over there. So you've got lights, nice LED lights running across the top. So the only part that I normally run through, to be fair, is the toilet, because the rest of it's just hot and cold tap, hot and cold tap. Toilet, you might not have used one of these before, so I will show you how they work. So you've got a little blue button here at the back. When I press on the blue button, you'll get a little bit of flush fluid pumping around. Might be a little bit low on water at the moment, but you literally have a blue button there for the flush. Once you've gone to the toilet, you've got a little grey handle here at the bottom. Pull this handle to the right, and it will drain whatever's inside this bowl here into the cassette. And that's it. That really is honestly it. Once you've finished, push the flap back over, and that will stop any bad smells coming back up into the inside. It will also allow you to remove the cassette from outside. So if you open this flap up, you will not be able to take the cassette out from outside. So push it back over, and that's it. Ready to be used again. I'll check on that water level. But yeah. So I think that's about it. I don't think there's much else that I can show you on the inside. As I said, there is an external video coming as well. The external one won't be quite so long because it's not so much to show you on the outside. But yeah, so look out for that. Otherwise, I think that's about it. If there's anything you think I've missed out or anything you want going over again, just give us a shout. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks very much.